Well, hello there, and we're sending warmth and positive vibrations, good vibes your way as we say good morning. Welcome to the program. Good morning, St. Lucia Vibes at Sunrise with your host, Shannon Lebourne. Wednesday, November the 9th. Yes, halfway through the work week with more rain on the horizon. We're tracking the weather and we'll have the latest updates so you know what to expect. But in the blink of an eye, wow, already Wednesday. I want to encourage you to remain positive. You've made it this far, and with the right attitude, discipline, and dedication, things will go your way. So remain positive. Coming up on this edition of the program, the mother of a rape victim who was also served time for manslaughter shares her story amidst public anger surrounding two recent cases now under police investigation. Plus, political commentator Mr. Peter Wicham, my special guest on today's program, will talk developments over in Dominica. I'll ask him whether the Prime Minister preempted suggestions for electoral reform from Sir Dennis Byron in announcing the snap elections. All that and more coming up right here on your program. Here's your invitation to remain with us from now until 9. 6:02 the time, the latest news headlines. Your first news of the day with Shannon Lebourne comes up next.
The morning news, first news of the day, is sponsored by Quartz.
Good morning. Our top story this hour: Republicans were favored to take control of the U.S. House of Representatives away from President Joe Biden's Democrats based on early returns in Tuesday's U.S. midterm elections, though the prospects of a red wave appear to have dimmed. With polls closed across most of the country, Republicans had flipped 5 Democratic seats in the U.S. House, the very number needed to capture a majority and cripple Biden's legislative agenda. But importantly, that number can change as close to 200 of the 435 House races had yet to be called, including some with vulnerable Republican incumbents. Early results suggested Democrats would avoid the type of wipeout election that some of the party members had feared, given Biden's sagging approval rating and voter frustration over inflation. But even a narrow Republican House majority would be able to block Biden's priorities while launching political damaging investigations into his administration and family. The U.S. Senate remained too close to call, with pivotal races in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona all looking like toss-ups. The Georgia race could end up in a December 6th runoff, possibly with the Senate at stake. Democrats currently control the 100-seat Senate, with Vice President Kamala Harris able to break any 50-50 ties. In addition to every House seat, 35 Senate seats and 36 governor races are on the ballots. In the final outcome of the congressional races is likely to be known anytime soon. More than 46 million Americans, including many St. Lucian-born nationals, voted ahead of Election Day, either by mail or in person, according to data from the U.S. Election Project, and state officials caution that final results could take some time. Here at home, more details are surfacing this morning on the sexual violation of a 4-year-old girl in Dennery this past weekend. We first broke this story yesterday and have since confirmed several details. The perpetrator, a resident of Dennery Valley, is between the ages of 25 and 27 years. He was caught performing oral sex on the young girl in Dennery Valley, Dennery Riviera, on Sunday, November 6. In fact, the man was the next-door neighbor of the 4-year-old girl. He was being housed at the Mico police station, but on Tuesday, November the 8th, he was transferred to Vieux-Fort police, who are investigating the matter. While investigators remain tight-lipped, charges are expected to be referred shortly. Meanwhile, family members of the victim continue to search for help, including counseling support for the young girl. Our attempts to get feedback from the Department of Human Services have been futile thus far. We will have more as the details unfold. Well, parents of the students, grade 6 students at a primary school in Castries have been put on notice. The principal of the institution has written to parents warning that students will now face suspension over incomplete homework. In fact, the letter, a copy of which we have obtained, parents and guardians are advised that the school will no longer tolerate the recurring issue. In fact, on Monday, all grade 6 students at the school were briefed and given a final warning. The letter to parents states, quote, "Parents, we have zero tolerance for students not completing home assignments. Thus, after continuous warnings and detentions, as well as parent conferences, we are now implementing suspensions." Parents were also advised to speak to their students and be so guided. The increase in gun violence over the past months has raised concerns over a deeper issue in society, where the island's youth now have easier access to guns. Chairman of St. Lucia, Dr. Venus Sherry, is suspicious about the source of these illegal firearms, as he believes that the issue can be tackled at its roots. Jasmine Duncan reports.
While the homicide toll continued to rise, the number of gun-related incidents, the proximity of each, and the manner in which it is being done, as well as the ages of those found in possession of such weapons, have sounded the alarm on the severity of the gun plague issue. Chairman of St. Lucia, Dr. Venus Cherry, says the vulnerabilities among the young is being exploited by the true players who source and allow these guns to enter the streets. Police have confirmed that many of the illegal weapons are being smuggled into the country through the island's porous borders. However, some have dared to import arms via the Customs Department in shipments from abroad, and some are suspected to have escaped the laser-sharp port screening. Several weeks ago, 2 high-powered weapons were disassembled in a refrigerator which reached the Customs Department at Port Castries.
The gun violence, young men doing this, young men doing that, yes, and they're wrong. Where are the guns coming from? Do those young men have the ways and the means to bring those weapons, those high-powered rifles into St. Lucia? Do they have the funding to do it? Somebody's bringing it. Who's responsible for the ports? Is it those young men? So somebody's not doing their job. Somebody in some level of authority, in some level of law enforcement, in the famous words of Mary Isaac, is dropping the ball.
According to Dr. Cherry, the fear of retaliation has caused society to turn a blind eye, feeding into the issue. He is of the firm belief that people need to speak up, asking the right questions. His hope is that the incoming police commissioner operates in a stern and resolute manner, not yielding to societal pressures.
So who are we holding accountable? And if you open your mouth and speak and hold government or ministers accountable, whoever party is in power, their supporters come and label you anti-this, anti-that, and they crucify you. They will make you lose your job, your everything. So people are terrified. People just swallow their mumu pill or take a contract with Blue Waters and drink water and mind their business. That's the society we live in. We are a bunch of cowards. We don't fight for anything unless it affects us. We stay and turn a blind eye. When it happens to us, we say, help me. So why did you walk past the person that needed help? That's what we do, and it's sad. I just wish people would stand up. I pray to God, the police commissioner, the new police commissioner, come with some brass knuckles and change the culture.
The island has recorded 59 homicides for the year thus far, most of which was due to gun violence. A series of police operations have also led to the discovery of several illegal firearms and ammunition, for which many people as young as 17 years have been arrested and charged for such. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Jasmine Duncan.
Thank you, Jasmine. Well, 2 men have been granted bail and a third placed on remand for illegal firearm possessions. The trio appeared before a magistrate last Friday charged with illegal gun and ammunition possession. The magistrate granted Lorraine Swanson and Jam Papius bail in the amount of $55,000 cash, suitable surety or land documents. Swanson and Papius must report to Richford Police Station every Monday and Friday before 6 p.m. They must also surrender travel documents and not leave the state without permission. In addition, they are not to apply for any new travel documents while the case is ongoing. The court denied bail to Dominican national Kyle Seaman, whom police have charged with attempted murder concerning a shooting incident, which we reported yesterday. That incident happened in Ticola on October the 24th at about 10 p.m. Officers arrested Seaman, Swanson, and Papius and charged them with possessing illegal firearms and ammunition after recovering 2 pistols and 25 rounds aboard a vehicle in Richford. Virgin Atlantic returns to St. Lucia for the winter season after 2 years of ceased operations to the island. 2020 saw the end of flights to St. Lucia over a request that Caribbean governments, including the island, pay the airline subsidies in the amount of $20 million. This relaunch, however, is only seasonal and will end in the first quarter of 2023.
Virgin Atlantic has periodically resumed flights to St. Lucia for the winter season. The British carrier, which has serviced the island for over 21 years, ceased operations in 2020, following a request that the governments of the Caribbean islands it serviced pay millions in subsidies to the airline. Then Minister of Tourism Dominic Fede, in a news interview, confirmed that after much dialogue with the airline, the financial viability of options presented, such as an $20 million subsidy to be paid to Virgin Atlantic, were not in the best financial interest of the island. For the period which commenced on October 31st through March 25th, 2023, Virgin Atlantic will serve St. Lucia with flights from London Heathrow 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays via the Urinora International Airport, while the new winter service flights complement existing United Kingdom service for both British Airways and TUI Airways. The reason for doing so has not been disclosed by the airline. However, this resumption provides great opportunity for the island to increase arrival figures comparable to that of 2019, already registering 80% recovery of its pre-pandemic tourism numbers. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Jasmine Duncan.
Thank you, Jasmine. The St. Lucia Fire Service has embarked on a goal to distribute a total of 1,000 smoke alarms by December 21st this year. As officials are working diligently with partners and stakeholders to intensify the smoke alarm drive, the initiative is expected to commence on tomorrow Thursday, November the 10th, and follows immediately on the heels of the recently concluded program of activities for Fire Prevention Month, held in October. The initiative comes ahead of the Christmas season and when the possibility of electrical fires is heightened. Referencing structural fire statistics, Acting Assistant Divisional Officer Mabias Francis stressed that the most instances these fires occurred along middle to low income households on an average of 120 homes annually. We will hear from Mabias later on in the broadcast. As a result, the initiative involves a collaboration with corporate sectors as well as the Ministry of Equity and the National Emergency Management Office, NEMO, and disaster management committees in order to shortlist recipients for the Fire Prevention Initiative. Improper waste disposal exacerbated the flash flood events on November the 6th. The intensity of the trough system that affected St. Lucia's northern region also underscored the island's vulnerability to the global issue of climate change. The situation also brought to bear the environmental impact of climate change. The situation was very real for the citizens of the north of the island who had to contend with raging floodwaters which washed away animals, furniture, as well as vehicles and other valuables. We hear more in this report.
2022, a trough system drenched the island's northern region. The torrential downpours triggered flash floods and caused land slippage. Floodwaters swept away vehicles and invaded homes and businesses. The rushing floodwaters turned debris and improperly disposed solid waste into torpedoes damaging property and impeding roadways. Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre and Deputy Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, on November 7th, apprised the press on the government's response to the affected households and businesses.
The Ministry of Infrastructure had maintained the schedule for desilting, especially as prescribed during preparation for the hurricane season. Despite the heavy rainfall, there were many things in the rivers that were not supposed to be there. Old stoves, discarded fridges, plastic bottles in the rivers. And once more, we are begging and urging the public of St. Lucia not to dispose these materials in the waterways and the rivers.
The trough dumped about 6 inches of rainfall in Rodney Bay, Grosole. About 4 inches of rainfall was recorded in the Forestier area, and more than 3 inches of rainfall was recorded at the George F.L. Charles Airport in the capital.
The waterways, too many incidences of clogged waterways because of garbage. Persons dispose of their garbage in the waterways or to the back of their homes where it is close to the waterways. So once it has overflowed its banks, everything gets washed away. And these things also compromise the roads and the bridges. So again, we're pleading with you to please dispose of garbage. Solid waste has bulk garbage once a month. Please ensure that you know what dates your garbage, bulk garbage is being collected.
Improper waste disposal exacerbated the flash flood events of November 6. The intensity of the trough system also underscored the island's vulnerability to the global climate crisis.
Climate change is real. These weather events are going to be more frequent and more devastating. In a meeting of national security ministers in London, one expert is predicting that climate change is a threat that can only be compared to a nuclear disaster. That's how real climate change is.
Damage assessments by the Infrastructure Ministry and NEMO will continue. Fortunately, there was no loss of life associated with the November 6 trough. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
Now, the water and sewage company Wasco is providing an update on the impact on its infrastructure post the trough system. The company says that its infrastructure, which supplies water to the north of the island, was not severely affected by the trough system. Following areas, however, were affected. Babano system at Talvan, the intake and the pump station. Crews have commenced the process of cleaning. The pumps had to be cleaned. Desilting of the intake and cleaning of the filters have also commenced at the Marquee intake. That intake and the pump could not be assessed as a result of the high water level in the river. That's at the Marquee intake. As a result of the above, production of water at Hill 20 treatment plant is not possible. Work at the various intakes is expected to be completed today, November the 9th. Meanwhile, Wasco will augment the supply of water into the Babano area by utilizing water from the Thebes treatment plant via the Mon Bocage system. Thebes treatment plant at Varna intake. That intake is clogged, and crews have been able to mobilize and begin the process of cleaning. The gravity source was clogged but has since been cleared. There were no adverse effects at the John Compton Dam, and ancillary, that system was also not adversely affected. The intake has been cleaned. Distribution reports indicate that 90% of damage was to service lines, and many meters were washed away, especially in the Corinth and Revere meter area as a result of the flood waters. A 4-inch main line was also damaged along the Corinth Bridge opposite the TJ supermarket. A 4-inch main line was damaged as well at the Market Bridge by the excavator during the cleaning up of the river. And the south of the island was not adversely affected by the rain. However, the intake and Miku had to be cleaned. Wasco wishes to reiterate its commitment to restoring the supply of water to all affected consumers. Customers are also encouraged to report faults to the Wasco control room at the following numbers: 457-7398, 457-3960, or 451-9812. Customers can also WhatsApp Wasco via the number 48200052. The company says it will continue to provide updates as the situation normalizes. Finally, from us this hour, contrary to beliefs of the Culture Minister, the FRC Director Raisa Joseph strongly articulated that Creole Heritage Month is presently St. Lucia's biggest cultural celebration and not carnival. However, she believes that for more heritage Creole to ascend to the marketing levels of carnival, it must be privy to similar investment and promotion.
In the lead-up to Journée Creole activities this year, Culture Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire announced that Creole Heritage Month possesses the potential to eclipse Carnival as the biggest national cultural celebration. While the minister's comments were deemed optimistic at the time, FRC Director Raisa Joseph, who recently added her voice to the matter, articulated that Creole Month is already the largest cultural event on island. Providing the rationale for her stance, Joseph pointed to the cross-section engagement in Creole from all demographics in the populace. She says that while Carnival may only appeal to a specific set of individuals, Creole is for everyone.
It is the biggest cultural festival when we look at the level of engagement, the cross-section of St. Lucians who participate, despite class, color, creed, religious beliefs, and how it is able to unify St. Lucians even before October starts. Our supermarkets are wiped up of traditional foods that we normally prepare. People are preparing their dress, where they're going to go out. People call the FRC to find out what is happening for Journée Creole. While
noting that it is not a competition between Carnival and Creole Heritage Month, she affirms that if the goal is for Creole Month to be as big a spectacle as its Vaval counterpart is, it would require the same injection of financing and marketing.
If it is we want our Heritage Creole and our Journée Creole to be at the levels that we have Carnival, we must market it as such in our promotions with our hotels, our use of the language and respect for it, too, and our partnerships. And if we put in the requisite investment, then we will get the requisite returns.
Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson.
Thanks, Kareem. 6:25 now the time. That's the news, your first news of the day with Shannon Lebourne.
The morning news, first news of the day, is sponsored by Quartz.
Ooh la la! See what's new at Quartz. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Quartz Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopquartz.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals. Only at Quartz. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Good morning. The sports headlines comes up next. In sports this hour, St. Lucia will field a 4-member beach volleyball squad for the first Central American and Caribbean Sea and Beach Games set for Santa Marta in Colombia, scheduled for the 19th to the 26th of November. The male team comprises Rio Victor and Lorenzo Japierre, while the female team comprises Silo Phillip and Shanoa Evans. The team coaches Terry Verdant. The team leaves St. Lucia for Santa Marta, Colombia on Friday, the 18th of November. According to Alfred Emmanuel, the president of the St. Lucia Olympic Committee, SLOC Inc., the team's participation in the tournament is by virtue of qualification and not a wild card. That is what the St. Lucia Olympic Committee requires from our members, Emmanuel said last Thursday at a press briefing to introduce the team. When you wanted to put demands on the SLOC, then you must put demands on yourselves as well to produce qualifiers and not just participants. Meanwhile, Coach Verdant said that the Santa Marta Beach Volleyball Tournament will comprise 16 male teams and 16 female teams. Team preparation here at home, he said, has been ongoing and competitive. We have been working very hard over the past month, and our goal here is to go out and compete, Verdant said. As you know, with the pandemic, we couldn't do anything with volleyball at the time. Our aim is to go out there and play well, play hard, and represent ourselves and our country very well. The beach games fall under the umbrella of the Central Caribbean Sports, formerly known as the Central American and Caribbean Sports Organization. St. Lucian International wingback Shanoy Evans helped his team, Arnett Gardens, to earn 3 points, keeping a clean sheet in a 2-0 victory over Waterhouse FC. Waterhouse, one of the best clubs over in Jamaica. The match played last Sunday. Evans, who recently signed a 2-year contract to play in the Jamaica Premier League, has been part of a strong team that have 2 wins in 2 matches. His latest performance against Waterhouse won him the man of the match. Title: the St. Lucian International spoke with Sportsmarks in a post-match interview.
We had a very sloppy first half, I could say. We gave away the ball too much. So we had to settle down and then get our heads right to settle down the game and play a more passing and complete game.
Yeah, compare for me the Jamaica Premier League experience you're having at the moment to when you're playing in the St. Lucia Premier League for Uptown Rebels.
Well, our league is like an amateur league, so it's not as competitive as here. It's more physical, faster here than back home. The level is much higher, so it's a great experience still.
Okay, and finally, Shanoy, have you set targets for yourself as an Arnett Gardens player this year in the Jamaica Premier League?
Yes, my aim is to win the Premier League and then move on forward from this.
St. Lucian International Shanoy Evans speaking there with Sportsmax. Evans will next be in action on home soil when St. Lucia hosts San Marino on November the 17th and 20th in 2 international friendlies at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. Meanwhile, it will be a historic match for the record books when St. Lucia plays host to San Marino. It will be the first time that a European club will be playing in St. Lucia. The match will be live streamed across the world from the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds November 17th from 6 p.m. and the 20th from 4 p.m. Tickets are easy $20 per game, about $30 if you purchase tickets for both matches at the same time. The international friendly fixture is supported by several corporate partners, including Salt Petroleum. Results now from the 2022 Girls Inter-Secondary Schools Table Tennis Tournament. As we promised you on Monday, the 2022 Inter-Schools Table Tennis Girls Team Championship saw St. Joseph's Convent A winning 3-0 over Coram Secondary in the first quarterfinal match. Naya Classer from the SJC was the outstanding player of that match. The second girls quarterfinals match saw Castries Comprehensive Secondary School A winning over St. Joseph's Convent B 3-0. CCC's Kiana Felix, CCSS that is, Kiana Felix was the outstanding player of that match. The third quarterfinal match saw Sufra Compre A winning 3-0 over Castries Comprehensive B team. Anelia Paul from the Sufra Comprehensive was the outstanding player of that match. Fourth quarterfinal match saw the Patricia D. James Secondary School winning 3-1 over the Sufra Comprehensive B team. Chantal Charles from the Patricia D. James School was the outstanding player of that match. The girls team semifinals saw the Patricia D. James Secondary winning over SJC A 3-2 in a close encounter. Shatal Charles from the Patricia D. James Secondary and Kayla Kazemi won the deciding doubles match to book their place in the finals. The other semi-final match saw Castries Comprehensive winning 3-1 over Sufra Comprehensive A. Kiana Felix again was the outstanding player in that match. The girls' team finals saw Castries Comprehensive winning 3-2 over the Patricia D. James Secondary. Although Shatal Charles won 2 matches, the experienced pair of Sapphire Popo and Kiana Felix dominated the deciding doubles match, securing gold. Castries Comprehensive won their first goals team title. Congratulations to the winners and all the participants. More news from school sports now. 2 matches are scheduled for today, November the 9th, in under 19 school boys basketball at 1 p.m. The St. Mary's College will play the Sir Ira Simmons Secondary, and at 3 p.m. the Leon Hess Comprehensive Secondary will play Miku Secondary. On Friday from 2 p.m. the St. Mary's College will play the Sufra Comprehensive Secondary. These matches, the venue for those matches, the Boss Issue indoor facility. However, the VG Sports Complex acts as a backup playing facility. To end the sports, a quick look at the upcoming games in the 2022 schools under 19 football competition. Group 1 on November 10th, tomorrow from 1 p.m. Castries Comprehensive will play Coram Secondary, and at 2:45 p.m. the St. Lucia Sports Academy in action against the Sir Ira Simmons Secondary. November 15th, action continues from 1 p.m. Coram Secondary will face Sir Ira Simmons Secondary, and at 2:45 p.m. the Babylon Secondary will face Castries Comprehensive. November 17th, from 1 p.m. Coram Secondary again in action, this time against the St. Lucia Sports Academy, and at 2:45 p.m. Babylon Secondary will place Ira Simmons Secondary. The venue, the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds and the VG playing field. Of course, parents are encouraged to come out and support the youngsters. That's the final whistle on the sports headlines. Weather is next. Good morning. Wednesday, the 9th of November. The winds are blowing from between the east and east-southeast near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy and hazy, becoming cloudy at times with scattered showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies, you are advised to take the necessary precautions. Residents and motorists in areas prone to flooding and landslides are advised to be vigilant, as soils are already saturated and any additional rainfall may trigger flooding and landslides. A tropical wave is expected to cause an increase in cloudiness, showers and isolated thunderstorms mainly over the southern half of our region during the forecast period. Saharan dust haze will continue to cause a reduction in visibility and air quality over the Los Angeles during the forecast period. The intertropical convergence zone will continue to affect the southern portion of the Eastern Caribbean region during the next 24 hours. We continue to monitor that tropical wave here, and later on in the program we will have an update for you, but that's the latest weather news supplied by the Here and Now Meteorological Office in VA4 St. Lucia. There's lots more on the weather online at www.slummet.gov.lc. You can check the 24/7 weather hotline 454-3452. We say good morning if you're just joining us. This is the morning show built just for you. We get you up to speed and out the door with what's trending here in our beautiful country. Wednesday. What a wow Wednesday. Already halfway through the work week. Coming up this morning, we'll hear from a parent of a rape victim herself, a former inmate at the Borderley Correctional Facility. She's been there for manslaughter. She'll tell us her story this morning as amidst public anger surrounding two similar rape cases. We'll hear from that parent and my very special guest as well, political scientist and the political observer Peter Wicham, on developments over in Dominica. The Prime Minister unveiled in his slate last evening some 10 new candidates will contest the December 6th general election. I'll ask Mr. Wicham, the Prime Minister Roosevelt's carrot to preempt a suggestion by Sir Dennis Byron for electoral reform by announcing a snap election. All that and more coming up this morning right here. Good morning, St. Lucia. It's a vibe at sunrise.
Ooh la la! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals. Only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and brighter colors. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby antibacterial washing powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
Sometimes life can knock you off the ground, but surprisingly, an encouraging word can hoist you back to your feet. What we all need is someone in our corner. Someone like Dr. Tonji.
Hi, I have 3 questions for you. 1, have you discovered your purpose? 2, have you discovered your ability? And 3, are you planning your life's path?
Dr. Tonji has inspired audiences on radio stations throughout the US and in the Caribbean on Kiss FM with the Dr. Tonji Show. Now, sister station Hot 7 TV teams up with Kiss FM to bring the Dr. Tonji Show to television.
I will share my wealth of experience, my affinity to life, and assist you in fulfilling your call. By tuning in to the Dr. Tonji Show on Hot 7 TV and Kiss FM, you and I will begin to explore the answers to these questions and many more. And in these challenging times, it's just what the doctor ordered.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, Celebrating Lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, Celebrating Lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
Good morning, St. Lucia. Vibes at Sunrise, an informative, enlightening, stimulating package. It can be taken as your morning cup of tea. Fortuna Anthony endorsing Vibes in the Morning.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Wednesday, November the 9th. We have lots happening, so let's move right along and bring you first the word for today, Wednesday, halfway through the work week. The word for today comes up next, brought to you with the kind compliments of Joby Laundry Detergent, distributed here in St. Lucia by Fruit Seafood Limited. Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder, my family, my love, my Joby, the sponsors of the word for today, which comes on screen right now. Serendipity. I tell you, we have an English major in master controls who are having fun with those words now and then. Serendipity is a luck that takes the form of finding valuable or pleasant things that are not looked for. Interesting. Did you know serendipity, a noun, is luck that takes the form of finding valuable or pleasant things that are not looked for? We found the restaurant by pure serendipity rather than careful research, but it turned out to be the best deal in town. Today's word for today, brought to you the kind compliments of Joby Laundry Detergent, distributed in St. Lucia by Fruit Seafood Limited. Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder, my family, my love, my Joby.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and brighter colors. Use Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
Oola. A pleasant good morning. Thanks for waking up. Your choice. Mr. Peter Wicham is standing by live in Paris, France. Next, we go beyond the headlines.
See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance. 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and brighter colors. Use Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby Antibacterial Washing Powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
Sometimes life can knock you off the ground, but surprisingly, an encouraging word can hoist you back to your feet. What we all need is someone in our corner. Someone like Dr. Tanji.
Hi, I have 3 questions for you. 1, have you discovered your purpose? 2, have you discovered your ability? And 3, are you planning your life's path?
Dr. Tanji has inspired audiences on radio stations throughout the US and in the Caribbean on Kiss FM with the Dr. Tanji Show. Now, sister station Hot 7 TV teams up with Kiss FM to bring the Dr. Tanji Show to television.
I will share my wealth of experience, my affinity to life, and assist you in fulfilling your call. By tuning in to the Dr. Tanji Show on Hot 7 TV and Kiss FM, you and I will begin to explore the answers to these questions and many more. And in these challenging times, it's just what the doctor ordered.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead and calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Bexar Highway. Commentator Shannon welcomes the scrutiny of its one man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
What's up, guys, and good morning. My name is O'Neal OJ Joseph, keyboard player for Morgan Heritage, and I'm asking you guys to check out Good Morning St. Lucia Vibes at Sunrise with Shannon Lebourne on weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Hot 7 TV. Check it out.
Never a dull moment here on the program. Always lots to discuss, lots to talk about in our St. Lucia regionally and around the globe as well. The U.S. midterm elections last evening, the results started coming in. We'll have an update on that for you. But let's focus our eyes on our brothers and sisters in the Commonwealth of Dominica, our next door neighbors who are getting ready to go back to the polls again. This time on the 6th of December. Friend of the show, political commentator, political observer, Mr. Peter Wicham, political scientist. Mr. Peter Wicham is already on standby and he joins us now live via the Flow video platform. Mr. Wicham, good morning. Thanks for coming on early. Thanks for agreeing to join us. Peter, you with me?
I am, yes. I'm hearing you perfectly.
Warm welcome. Thanks for coming on.
It's like good to be with you guys in Castro, as I was saying.
Nice. Never a dull moment. What a quick turn of events over in Dominica. Somewhat surprising for many.
Yeah, well, surprising for many, but I was, I guess I was privy to events a little earlier. The reality is that once the opposition indicated that they were going to make changes, I think that this was always a possible option. Let's start from the position that the DLP administration of Roosevelt Skerrit is a relatively old administration. It will be seeking a sixth term. It's unprecedented in the Caribbean, and against that background, I think it appreciates its vulnerability. It was vulnerable largely because of the fact that, you know, they are old government, and what happened in Grenada could easily have happened in Dominica. Prime Minister Skerrit, in his wisdom and good strategy, determined that if you want to forestall the possibility of a Grenada and a Dick and Mitchell happening in Dominica, once you see the opposition making changes to shift the leader of the opposition, who was frankly Roosevelt Skerrit's best ally in terms of keeping him in office, once they were removing Lennox Linton, you know, there was always a possibility that the government could fall to a new person. So the idea is, even before that person gets the opportunity to get settled or get elected, you call it a snap election, and you prolong the life of your administration. I think it's excellent politics. There are other issues that we can consider, but the political strategy of it is genius, quite frankly.
Absolutely correct. Excellent political strategy from the Prime Minister Skerrit there in Roseau. But I will hear from him in just a bit, announcing his new slate last evening at the stadium grounds. But what does it say, Mr. Wicham, about our democratic process and possibly the need for fixed election dates? You now have a Prime Minister using his leverage, and he has the right by law to call election at any given date he so chooses. But 3 years into a 5-year mandate given to him by the people, choosing to go a snap election on the grounds of good strategy politically. What does it say about the democratic process and the choice, the mandate that the people would have given to him?
Well, I mean, there are two ways you can look at it, and one way is that, you know, elections are ultimately the expression of democracy, and it means that Dominicans are given more frequent opportunities to determine who should lead them. That can be bad for democracy. So from my perspective, or one of the perspectives we can take, is that it's good for democracy, because instead of having an opportunity every 5 years, you have an opportunity every 3 years to make a decision. There's nothing novel about it. As you said, it's perfectly legal. Prime Minister Motley did it in Barbados, and it was a resounding success. It was done in Jamaica. You know, Prime Minister Holness did the same thing in Jamaica. It has been done in the United Kingdom with less outstanding results. You know, they've had more frequent elections there to settle other issues, and in some instances, it worked for Boris Johnson. It didn't work well for Theresa May. I think that this idea of fixed dates is something that I support, and let me put that on the record, that I completely support fixed dates. I believe we should have a predictable election date, and I think the Prime Minister should not have the power to determine, you know, when the election is called, and to have this thing in his back pocket that he pulls out and says, look, we're going to have an election. I do agree that elections are disruptive, and I like the predictability of being able to say, you know, every 5 years we have an election. The reality is that that's not what our constitution says. So until that time, we have the opportunity to go back to the polls whenever the Prime Minister so chooses, and as a result, he's determined that. This thing about democracy being under threat is not something that I buy, largely because the democracy that we have requires elections in which people have free and fair opportunity to choose the government of their choice. If they are given the opportunity more frequently, is that a threat to democracy? I tend to think not.
Last night during his presentation, he said, quote, that he has less time in elective politics than he would have already served, indicating quite frankly that he's on his way out of elective politics. Who's next in line? And there are suggestions that he is perhaps paving the way, creating that ground for him to ascend to the office of President of the Commonwealth. Would that be surprising to you?
It would be surprising. I've never heard Prime Minister Skerrit indicating an interest in wanting to become president. And frankly, it's difficult for a person who is a sitting prime minister to take on the role of president, because the president ultimately has no power. And you move from a situation in which you're the person who gives the president, advises the president what to do, to the situation where you're the one being advised. So I don't see Prime Minister Skerrit fitting comfortably into that role. I've never heard him expressing a desire, either privately or publicly, to become president of Dominica. And I tend to think he would fit uncomfortably into a role like that. There are possibilities for him. Clearly, he wants to exit politics, and my sense is that this does provide somewhat of a platform for him to hand over leadership. You have alternatives within the organization that are already known in the public domain. I mean, I can't identify the names of them, but I think that people know who in Dominica are options for leadership. But then you also have people that are coming in now that may present some interesting opportunities in terms of, I think it's 5 or 6 new candidates that he's identified. So to me, there are multiple opportunities for succession, and certainly if he has a new mandate now, a fresh mandate, it gives him 5 years within which to make his decisions to move on. But as to what he will move on to do, I really am not sure. My sense is that he would want to leave politics altogether. He's been prime minister since he's been 27, and he's been in politics, I believe, since he was 25. I would think that by now he would want to exit politics and move on to another area of endeavor. He's now 50, and one could argue that this is a good opportunity for him, having spent a quarter of a century in political life, to move on altogether. But I really don't know what options he's been considering and in terms of his political afterlife.
Yeah, I asked the question, just entertain me a bit on the office of the president, because the Prime Minister, in his remarks recently, he's indicating that he wants to still be there to guide the Dominican Labour Party and the new government in charting the way forward for the new Dominica to match up to the challenges that they face. And there's some of his, you may call them the detractors, who think that the office of presidency may give him that level of immunity to possible investigations after he has omitted office. So that's why I was going there.
Yeah, no, I've heard it. I've heard it said. I mean, I don't have a difficulty with where you're going with that. I've heard it said that this idea of immunity is something that he finds attractive. But look, immunity is attractive if you think that you have something to hide, and I don't know that he necessarily believes he has anything to hide. I don't frankly know that he has anything to hide. So I don't necessarily know that immunity is something that he would necessarily be wanting to cherish. The possibility exists that he can remain a member of parliament and he can serve as a guide from the backbenches, or alternatively a ministerial role. There are many possibilities, and I've seen in St. Lucia, you have a former prime minister serving in the cabinet of another person. Indeed, you have a former prime minister who is serving on the backbench in parliament. I think it is an uncomfortable situation, and I've always said that Prime Minister Jean-Pierre, in my view, sits somewhat less comfortably because he has 2 persons of the eminence of former prime ministers within his ranks, and it must be an odd relationship, quite frankly. Having said that, I seen in Cayman Islands, you had a former premier sitting in the cabinet of another. Clearly, it is something that could work. Frankly, I don't see it, but I think that's something that we need to look to Prime Minister Skerrit to see what he decides to do. But certainly, he has expressed an interest in being involved, and I wonder whether he may want to do so from the backbenches and serve in a role from that level. I'm also interested in the role of his wife in future politics, and the impression I'm getting is that she continues to be committed to politics. If she's a sitting member of parliament, there's no possibility for him to become a president. And I think that is also something that we have to look at fairly seriously. That, for me, is critical. I don't see the presidency in his future. And I'm not sure that he needs to have this level of immunity that people have spoken about. But definitely, I do feel that he may want to continue serving as a member of parliament and maybe even a minister in a new administration if he decides to move on.
Yeah, so just clarify for me quickly, Peter, the laws of Dominica restrict him from gaining office if his wife, Melissa Skerritt, Papone Skerritt, remains a member of parliament.
Not to the best of my knowledge. I don't know. The president could be whoever is chosen by parliament. So I don't know that there's a restriction. I'm just saying that the optics of having a president married to a person who is a sitting member of parliament strikes me as being somewhat uncomfortable.
Fair enough. And it's interesting that you raised the continued candidacy of his wife, because when he first presented her 3 years ago, he said to his Dominican people, I am giving you my family, I'm putting a lot on the line. So one would anticipate that he's still going to walk the road with her in some shape or fashion, at least for the immediate future.
Yeah, well, most definitely. And one would assume that he would also walk the road for other persons within the party. He has considerable political capital, and he understands that, in the future, he needs to use it in support of the Dominica Labour Party. So I have definitely seen him out front for her, and also out front for the DLP, other candidates in various constituencies. And yeah, he has an active future in politics. All of that he cannot do if he's serving as president. So for those reasons, I do feel that he will continue in the political husking in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. Two big developments coming since the Prime Minister's announcement of a snap election. Let's deal with the first one. The main opposition figures indicating that they will not participate in the December 6 polls. What message will that send to the international community, Peter?
Well, I mean, they're taking a position. One can say it's not challenging for me, but I basically said I understand both sides. I understand the genius of the political strategy of Prime Minister Skerritt, because his objective is to remain in office and to keep his party in office, and that's fine. I also understand the political strategy of the UWP, and I think that in a commentary on another platform, I said that personally, if I were advising the UWP, I would tell them not to contest the election. Now, my thing is the elections are physically demanding, they are financially demanding, and they're exhausting. Why would you want to subject yourself to that in a situation where you know that the outcome is a foregone conclusion? What you could do is you could wrap the whole thing in this whole idea of the need for reform, and you could say, okay, we were not contesting it on that basis. And you do recall in the 1980s, I believe it was 81 in Jamaica, the PNP took a similar position where they said, we're not contesting the election because we are unhappy with the voters list. What you do is you save yourself considerable exertion of energy behind an objective that you know is completely impossible to achieve. And then you're able to take a moral high ground. And I think that's exactly what the UWP has done. I don't know whether they were listening to me, because they normally have very little use for anything that I say. But they've taken a political high ground, and they say, look, we're not contesting this election because we think that electoral reform is necessary. We don't believe that we'll have a fair shake without electoral reform. And I totally understand the position that they have taken in saying, look, we will stand down in this election, and it gives us the opportunity to bargain later. Now, my sense is they were supposed to be in opposition for 5 years. They were getting to 3, there were 2 more. If they feel that they can work towards getting, and you have a timeline for reform, this election out of the way, reform is achieved, and then they can start to lobby for fresh elections once the new voters list is finished. I think that their moral high ground is strengthened if they are not in a parliament in which they have said this is a legitimate exercise and that this can continue for an additional 5 years. So to me, it is good from their part if they take this position, because it gives them the opportunity to say, look, in 3 years when we are ready, when we have a new leader, we can start to lobby for fresh elections because we have deemed the last ones illegitimate. All of that falls if they do contest the election and they say, well, we legitimize the election and they carry forward. So as I said, I understand the strategy on both sides, and I'm certainly trying to be very objective in this matter. And I think that what they have done is a good call, in the same way that I think that what the Prime Minister has done is an excellent call.
Yeah, thanks for your objectivity there. It's a wait and see as far as whose strategy would come up more beneficial for the individual party. So let's continue to keep our eyes on that, Peter. Electoral reform. Happy that you went there. the learned gentleman, Sir Dennis Byron, he was appointed by Prime Minister Skerrit to review and to lead the process for electoral reform in the Commonwealth. Sir Byron has since written back to Prime Minister Skerrit and to the leader of the parliamentary opposition, Mr. Lennox Linton. The letter to Mr. Linton went in on the 6th of this month, a copy of which we have. So one would anticipate, fair enough, that the Prime Minister would have received this prior to the 6th, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some suggestion and observation now that Prime Minister Skerrit, in receipt of that letter from Sir Byron, would have taken the position and tried to preempt the process of electoral reform, because in the letter Sir Byron clearly laid out a schedule for electoral reform beginning in November. So some are saying that the Prime Minister, privy to that information, not wanting to go down that route, which starts off with the voter registration process and system, preempt Sir Byron's presentation of the report. What say you?
Yeah, no, but I mean, the reality is that Sir Byron's report was late. Sir Byron's report is late. The Prime Minister commissioned that study, I think, the week of his election, right after the elections were successful. The previous election is now 3 years later. And there are schools of thought. Certainly my view is that, look, I did electoral reform. I was the consultant to the Electoral Reform Committee in St. Kitts and Nevis. We completed our work in about 4 months, and we did voter registration. We set it up. We had a consultant company identified, and they printed new voter ID cards, registration cards, and had that process completed within a year. Frankly, this process has taken too long. And to suggest that the Prime Minister is taking a letter from Sir Byron and asking to preempt what's supposed to happen within the next year is something that I don't buy. There are good reasons why Sir Byron was late. It was COVID. I understand that there was a period of time when he was himself unwell. And I get it. It's a one-man commission, right? I don't know what level of administrative support he had. But the reality is that the things that need to be done in Dominica in terms of electoral reform is not rocket science, right? They're not changing constituency boundaries or anything just yet. What they're basically doing is saying we need to have a voter registration. And as we saw in St. Kitts, the mechanics of it can be executed within 3 months, to 6 months. And the fact that it has taken this long, to me, is a reflection on the commissioner and the length of time it took. No, I'm not attacking him, and I'm saying that I understand that when you have a one-man commission, you may very well have good reasons. But to suggest that he has now made his recommendation that there's rocket science and it needs to be re-registration in Dominica, where everybody knew that, and my feeling is that it could have been done by now. It should have been done by now. And the Prime Minister has taken a strategic decision to call an election at this time. I think it frankly has nothing to do with this process of electoral reform, and I think it has everything to do with the fact that this is a good strategic opportunity to put the party on a good footing in terms of winning the next election. Yeah. But I'm sympathetic to Sir Dennis. He has essentially been given a very, very tall task and a short time within which to complete it. My assumption is that as a person who is of considerable vintage himself, his energy levels are not like that of a person who is in their 20s. But no, this letter is 2 years, I would say 2 years too late, and it is behind schedule. I perhaps believe that a part of the reason that Sir Dennis has offered this letter is essentially to give an explanation for the length of time that this thing has been taken, and to say this is the way forward. But for me personally, we all knew that there needed to be a re-registration. The mechanics of the re-registration are well known. We're doing it in Barbados now. It's been done in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it can be done quickly. Having said that, though, I am familiar with public opinion in Dominica, and I reject the idea that electoral reform will make a difference to the outcome of elections. In St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Douglas. Dr. Douglas won 3 elections back to back without reform. He had reform, and then he won a 4th election. my sense is that this is exactly what will probably happen in Dominica anyhow, because public opinion in Dominica does not support a change at this stage. So I don't believe that electoral reform is the problem. The opposition is convinced that they can't win elections because of electoral reform. But if I read public opinion correctly on the ground in Dominica, a majority of people believe that Prime Minister Skerrit is the best person to lead the country. And if that's the case, no amount of reform will change their views and opinions. What will happen is that you will have a lot of dead voters coming off the list and whatnot, like happened in St. Kitts. In St. Kitts, we removed 30% of voters from the voters list because they had either died or migrated and whatnot. So the list was clean. The voter turnout went from like 50% to 80%. Simply because the list was cleaned up, but it made absolutely no difference to the outcome of elections because people vote on the basis of who they prefer.
Yeah, fair enough. But how dangerous is it, Peter, that perhaps in Dominica that you're still going to have an election, people showing up and not necessarily needing a voter ID to cast a ballot?
Yeah, but they just had an election in the United States yesterday and they had no voter ID there. They had an election. They had 2 elections in England and then no voter ID. This thing about a voter ID is something that I find fascinating. In Barbados, if you turn up without your ID card, you can vote. I would imagine in Dominica is even easier because in Dominica everybody know who you are. So this idea that a voter ID is central to a safe and fair election is something that is complete and absolute nonsense. But because there's no voter ID in the United Kingdom, but we have Commonwealth consultants from the UK coming to the Caribbean and agreeing that we should have one, but they have none there. There's none in the United States of America. You need to be able to know that the person on the list is you. You need to be able to know that that is you and that the person who is voting identifies you. And I guarantee you that in most instances in Dominica, when people go to the polls, the person who is the registering officer and the person who is the voter are known to each other, and they know this is Peter Wicham and Peter Wicham is voting. Once Peter Wicham votes, his name is struck off the list. If you then he used the ink and he inks his finger, so Peter Wicham can't vote again. Voter ID is not going to make a huge difference to that reality. It's a nice fail-safe. But let's be clear, there is no requirement for voter ID in the largest democracies in United Kingdom, or the larger democracy in the United Kingdom and the United States of America, and they have elections quite successfully.
Yeah. You would agree that some of these larger jurisdictions have a more mature political system than ours as well?
I don't necessarily agree with that. What's immature about our political system and what's immature about our people? We have comparable rates of education. We have comparable literacy rates. And I am not understanding what about maturity requires the fact that an individual is known to each other. There is far more opportunity for fraud in the US because it is highly unlikely that the voter is going to be known to the registering officer. The fact that in Dominica, the voter is going to be known to the registering officer, there are 2 scrutineers present that are probably going to know the voter as well because they come from the same area. To me, the likelihood of fraud is lower in Dominica than it is in the United States of America. Yeah. So this idea about politically mature democracies is not something that I buy. In this instance, familiarity is probably your best defense against fraud.
Yeah, fair enough. One more from me on the electoral reform process. Prime Minister in 2019 was very clear that he was in favor, and he acted upon it in quick step by appointing Sir Byron to lead the process of electoral reform. But he's going back to a poll again, not keeping the promise.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that is a powerful statement that you've just made, because he made a commitment. He made a commitment to electoral reform. He gave Sir Byron a fairly tight timeline in terms of which to complete it. And it has not been able to deliver in either regard. Now, people can determine whether the reasons that have been advanced are satisfactory, which is COVID and so on. If people buy that, then it's easy to say, okay, well, there are good excuses why it shouldn't have happened. But I do agree with you that one of the most powerful arguments that the opposition can bring is the fact that the Prime Minister did give a commitment that he will execute the electoral reform and that it will be executed within a particularly short time frame, which has not been met.
Yeah, two more from me quickly. The next few weeks will be very, very interesting in the Commonwealth. Prime Minister sending a signal last evening that he will not tolerate the sort of anarchy that we saw on the streets of Roseau the last time around. What's your projection for the mood on the ground in Roseau heading into the polls? What should we anticipate?
I believe it will be a very low-key election. I don't believe that Labour will pull out all the stops, because I frankly don't think that it will be an election that will be contested in a real way. The opposition is wobbling already, because you're seeing Alex Bruno is now saying that he may offer candidates because there should be a candidate offered. Once there's a candidate offered, there's going to be an election, and there's going to be a political bloodbath, quite frankly. So I imagine that there will be a low turnout, because the assumption on the part of a lot of people is that, you know, there's nothing to fight. And I don't believe the opposition is sufficiently organized to mount the kind of public disorder that they did on the last occasion. I hope that they don't. And I think it's going to be a relatively low-key election in which the outcome is going to be a foregone conclusion for most people. And as a result, a lot of people will probably not even want to go to vote. But I don't believe there will be violence and stuff like that. That's a bad idea. And I think that the opposition has determined that it is a bad idea to create that kind of... Personally, I think that hurt them more than helped them in the last election.
Finally, for me, Mr. Wicham, December 6th is the big date. Last evening, though, the Prime Minister unveiled his candidates under the theme "Still the Best for Dominica." 10 of his last candidates will no longer contest. They seem like a happy bunch on stage. Didn't appear to be any sour grapes among them. Talk about that, the possibility of any fallout, and the new 10 candidates, the prospects that they bring for Dominica as we close.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of renewal is certainly there. He's renewed candidates before, probably not this many, but he's renewed candidates before. Prime Minister Scarlett seems to be able to handle the idea of changing candidates and giving new people direction and something to do. And, you know, they will be unhappy, of course, but in the final analysis, you know, they go on, and, you know, they have to see how they fit into the new conversation. But I think that with the level of strength that he's projecting himself to have, he can project candidate renewal successfully, and that will be interesting to see how people will respond to it. It certainly gives new candidates something to do. But I've noticed in the past there have been particularly visible former candidates that have fallen into line, because, you know, they say that Prime Minister in many ways, and this is not only Dominica, Prime Minister in St. Lucia as well, you know, in my house are many rooms. I go to prepare a place for you. So the new candidates or the old candidates just have to determine which mansion they will occupy or which room they will occupy based on the Prime Minister says so. And my sense is that most of them will wait on the word of the Almighty as opposed to challenge the Almighty regarding the appropriate room within which they should reside.
Yeah.
And on that biblical note, we can say good morning.
My sources say it's a very large mansion, and they would have choices as to which room they select.
Many rooms. It's true.
Peter, nice always chatting with you. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Likewise. Take care. All right.
Political scientist and observer with the company Cadres, Peter Wicham, coming in. First edition of our discussion on Dominica. Interesting twist of events. What lessons do you think the Dominica situation have for us here in St. Lucia? This is about 16 months since we last went to the poll. You think there's a possibility for a snappy election, earlier election here on St. Lucia? Without saying Jude, I quite frankly don't think so. But let us know what your thoughts are. Phone lines remain open, 4500-777, or call us on the WhatsApp line as well, 584-0600. We're on the go with Flo. We'll also update you on the U.S. midterm election results continue to come in this hour. We'll have some updates for you on that. And in just a bit, we'll hear from a parent, the parent of a rape victim herself has gone to prison for manslaughter. She will tell us her story this morning amidst public outcry on two similar rape cases here on St. Lucia, one involving a police officer. That and lots more coming up right here this morning on Good Morning St. Lucia. Stay with us now.
La! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals. Only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and brighter colors. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby antibacterial washing powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
It is with deep sadness that we announce the death of our beloved Tyrone Martelly from Monrepo, but at the time of his death resided in Toronto, Canada. He passed away tragically on Sunday, September 27, 2022. He was 24 years old. He was predeceased by his grandfather, Alson Martelly of Monrepo. Left to mourn his mother, Nyla Martelly of Monrepo, but resides in Canada. His father, Josephat Peter of Monrepo. His daughter, Rose Martelly in Canada. His sisters, Nima Martelly in Canada, Joanna and Janine of Pastures Monrepo. His brothers, Joseph Alson Martelly, also known as J, in Canada. His grandmothers, Magdalene Martelly, also known as Hemi of Loba Monrepo. Lucy Peter of Poilin Monrepo. His godfather, Damian John Baptist of Loba Monrepo, fireman at the Micoud Fire Station. His godmother, Lydia Peter Favrier of Monrepo, teacher at the Angers Secondary School. Uncles, including Benjamin Martelly and family of Loba Monrepo, Romuald Martelly of Monrepo, Marcus Martelly, also known as Pau and family of Monrepo, Maltus Martelly, also known as Tom, bus driver on Route 41 and family of Loba Monrepo, Cleo Martelly and family in England, Andrew Martelly, also known as Washma and family of Opicon, Claret Peter and family of Poilin Monrepo, aunts including Lindell Joseph and family of Monrepo, Mary Martelly Peter and family of Monrepo, Anicia Martelly and family in Canada, Ameline Martelly Williams and family of Loba Monrepo, Ruth Martelly and family in St. Thomas. Grand aunts Agatha Activille, also known as Ophelia and family of Micoud. Doreen Francis and family of Pastors Monrepo. Marie Kajada and family of Forestier. Grand uncles Martin Victor and family of Cicero. James Missel and family of Angers. Close cousins Shoin Victorine, Julia Martelly, Taja Martelly, all from Canada. Also left to mourn, Martelly, the Martelly family, the Victor family, the Simeon family, the La Corbinier family, the Peter family, the Williams family, both here and abroad. Many other relatives and friends too numerous to mention. He was a past student of the Monrepo Combined and the Vieux-Fort Technical Secondary School. Ty was also a member of the Monrepo No. 1 Laurels group before moving to Canada. The funeral service of the late Tyrone Martelly will be held at the St. Anne's Roman Catholic Church, Monrepo, on Saturday, November 12 at 1:30 p.m. His ashes will be laid to rest at the Mount Repos Cemetery. Thai family is requesting that everyone attending the funeral to kindly wear a touch of yellow. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace.
It is with deep sadness that we announce the death of Henrietta Joseph, also known as Henny of de Bray-Choiseul. She passed away on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022 at 3:45 a.m. She was 78 years old. The funeral service for the late Henrietta Rebecca Joseph, also known as Henny of de Bray-Choiseul, will be at the Mount Olive SDA Church, Canada, on Sunday, November 20th, 2022. May she rest in perfect peace. It is with profound sadness we announce the death of our dearly beloved Felix John, better known as Kenny of Grand Riviere Dennery. He passed away on Sunday, October 23rd, 2022 at the OKEU Hospital. The funeral service of the late Felix John, also known as Kenny or Barrow of Grand Riviere Dennery, will be held on Saturday, November 12, 2022 at the St. Michael Catholic Church in Larissus Dennery at 2:30 p.m. The body will then be laid to rest at the Larissus Cemetery. The body now lies at Rambali's Funeral Parlor, Calvary Road, Castries. May his soul rest in eternal peace. The death is announced of Noelyn Joseph, also known as who passed away at the St. Jude's Hospital on Sunday, November 6, 2022 at approximately 7:30 p.m. He was 71 years old. The funeral arrangements for the late Noelyn Joseph, also known as Aya, of Mont Cayenne View Fort, will be announced in a subsequent broadcast. The body now lies at Lazarus Funeral Home, New Dock Road, View Fort. May he rest in peace. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 2. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. It is with profound sadness and heavy hearts that we announce the departure of our loved one, Nicholas Ellis Edward, affectionately known as Mr. Barber, Barbs, or Eddie, originally of Bishop's Gap Marsha, Castries, but resided at Chateau Bel-Air, Soufrière. He was a past martial arts teacher, French and English teacher of Charterhouse and St. Mary's College. He departed this earthly home on Sunday, October 16, 2022 at 5:30 a.m. He was 73 years old. The funeral service for the late Nicholas Ellis Edward, also known as Baba or Babs, will be held on Friday, November 11, 2022 at Our Lady of the Assumption Catholic Church, View Fort at 3 p.m. His body will be laid to rest at the Michael O'Brien Private Cemetery, Latouny. The body now lies at Lazarus Funeral Home, New Dock Road, View Fort. May he rest in perfect peace. The death is announced of Marcellus Fontenelle, better known as Josie, of Auger View Fort, who passed away on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022 at the age of 59 years. The funeral service for the late Marcellus Fontenelle, better known as Josie, will be held at the Seventh-day Adventist Church on New Dock Road, View Fort, at 2 p.m. on Thursday, November 10th, 2022. The body will be available for viewing from 1:30 p.m. The body will be laid to rest at the Michael O'Brien Private Cemetery, Latouny. The body now lies at Lazarus Funeral Home, New Dock Road, View Fort. May he rest in perfect peace. It is with profound sadness we, the Augustine family, regrets to announce the death of Julianese Julia Augustine, also known as Julie, Mango, and Miss Julie of Badney, who passed away at the OKEU Hospital on Sunday, October 30th, 2022 at 2:18 p.m. She was 79 years old. The funeral service of the late Julianese Julia Augustine, also known as Julie, Mango, and Miss Julie, is scheduled to take place at the Holy Family Roman Catholic Church at Jacmel on Friday, November 11th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Her body will be laid to rest at the Jacmel Cemetery. Her body now lies at Rambali's Funeral Parlor, Calvary Road, Castries. May she rest in peace. It is with deep sadness that we announce the death of Baptist Ja, also known as Tom, originally of Miku but resided at Rockhall Castries. He passed away at the OKEU Hospital on Sunday, October 9th, 2022 at approximately 5:15 a.m. He was 65 years old. He was a former employee of the Castries City Council. The funeral service of the late Baptist Tom Ja will be held at the St. Lucia National Shrine in Miku on Saturday, November 12, 2022 at 2 p.m. The body will then be laid to rest at the Deriso Cemetery. May his soul rest in peace. It is with deep sadness and heavy hearts that we inform you of the death of our beloved Charles Bridget of Garababono, who passed away on Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. He was 56 years old. The funeral service for the late Charles Bridget will be announced in a subsequent broadcast. The body now lies at Crick's Funeral Home Limited, Vidbutey, Castries. May he rest in perfect peace. We regret to announce the passing of our beloved Anastasia Montrepny Edward, also known as Cassina or Othello, formerly of L'Abbaye but resided in Larissos Vieux-Fort. She passed away peacefully in her sleep on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. She was 86 years old. The funeral arrangements for the late Anastasia Montrepny Edward will be announced in a subsequent broadcast. May she rest in peace. The management and staff of Hot FM Communications would like to extend our deepest condolences to the grieving families.
Ooh la la! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals only at Courts, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and material washing powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby antibacterial washing powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his steel accidents along the Bexar Highway leaves Tremendous Chasney welcomes the scrutiny of its CI. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Mourning a loss? You celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments, Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In loving memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
Sometimes life can knock you off the ground, but surprisingly, an encouraging word can hoist you back to your feet. What we all need is someone in our corner, someone like Dr. Tanji.
Hi, I have 3 questions for you. 1, have you discovered your purpose? 2, have you discovered your ability? And 3, are you planning your life's path?
Dr. Tanji has inspired audiences on radio stations throughout the US and in the Caribbean on Kiss FM with the Dr. Tanji Show. Now, sister station Hot 7 TV teams up with Kiss FM to bring the Dr. Tanji Show to television.
I will share my wealth of experience, my affinity to life, and assist you in fulfilling your call. By tuning in to the Dr. Tanji Show on Hot 7 TV and Kiss FM, you and I will begin to explore the answers to these questions and many more. And in these challenging times, it's just what the doctor ordered.
Hey St. Lucia, Dylan Edwin here, national record holder for St. Lucia. I invite me to join Shannon Lebourne's show, Good Morning St. Lucia, on Hot 7 TV every morning. Now I'll see you at the finishing line.
Hello and thanks for staying with us. Thanks for making us your choice in the morning. Good morning, St. Lucia. We get off at 6 and we go all the way up until 9 o'clock. We really appreciate your viewership. We know you have many options to spend your time, but you choose to be here with us in the morning, and we really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's bring you up to speed with a very, very important update. On the education sector. There's a very Herculean task at a number of institutions to get ready following the weekend's deluge in the north of the island. 2 schools had to be remain closed on Monday and remain closed still as remedial works continue in cleaning and preparing the school to resume classes. We now have on the phone line the principal of the Dame Pudet Louise Primary School. Let's bring on now, Don. Miss Leo, good morning. Thanks for agreeing to come on.
Hi, a pleasant good morning to you. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, we know it was a very Herculean task that you have at your doorsteps at Dame Pudet to get the school ready for teachers and for students and school officials as well. But let's go back. It's Sunday. Late Sunday evening, when you first went to the school, what did it look like for you? Not the school that you often visit, I could anticipate.
Well, the only word I can use for Sunday was traumatizing. Anyone who went to the school at that time that I did would have been so overwhelmed, they would have just simply walked out.
Excellent. But a lot has been done thus far. Bring us up to speed. Your teachers and other officials have been cleaning and doing so much work. What has been done thus far?
Well, I can say right now, I'm a lot more optimistic that we can overcome this than I was on Sunday. Like I said, It was very daunting. I mean, everything was literally covered with mud. We had live fishes. We had quite a few creatures just roaming around. I mean, everything. Just think of everything. We had the lunch tables had gone somewhere near the river. Everything. The stage had moved across the building. We had things floating in our school that we didn't know where they came from. And I mean, I must really commend the staff the parents who came out, parents who took days off work, and our friends and family of the teachers, my family especially as well, husband, everyone, who came in from the very Sunday to start the cleanup process with spades and everything that they could bring from their homes to help us to begin the cleanup.
Yeah.
And the fire department, WASCO sent a team of workers yesterday. They did a miraculous job yesterday. And it's unbelievable, the transformation from Sunday to yesterday evening when we left the school. I know we will get there, and I know we will overcome. I know that we will do it. We have done it twice before, and God gave us the courage and the strength. And as a team, my staff, every single member of staff, as a team, ancillary staff, janitors, we will do it again. And like I said, I think we'll come back a lot faster than I thought we would. I'm a lot more optimistic today than I was on Sunday.
Excellent. And that's the Dame Paulette spirit. That's the Dame Paulette family vibe that we always appreciate. Parents and all stakeholders coming on board to get the school back and ready. When he spoke to Mr. Leos, we know that he indicated that it was about 1 a.m. on Monday morning when you guys arrived home. So a lot of work happened in the immediate aftermath.
Yes, it was.
Today you're going to be meeting with the Ministry of Education to chart the way forward.
Well, the Ministry of Education, they have been on board with us and they have been reaching out. And they did visit. Even the parliamentary rep for Grosile was there up to yesterday. Today, I'm going to meet with examinations just for ascertain the status. We are at right now for CPEA and other national exams. And my staff, we have our staff meeting for us to chart our way forward today. So after today, we will have a better understanding of exactly when we return to school so we can make a proper pronouncement to our parents. And to our parents, past and present, our past parents really stood up. They brought in food, they brought in water, and even monetary contributions to our account. Every drop that they put into the bucket of recovery will go a long way in bringing us back a lot faster. I would like to also thank the Taiwanese ambassador who also made a monetary contribution. I have two other organizations I will mention later on who also offered monetary contributions. One might be coming in today. So again, to every friend, family, past, present of Dame Paulette, we thank you. You have the Dame Paulette spirit because we believe that once a Dame Paulette parent or student, always a Dame Paulette parent or student. And they have all reached out. We even had past students coming in yesterday to help with the cleanup process. So again, I thank everyone. God is truly, truly, truly good.
Excellent. Very, very good to hear all the effort that has come into the school thus far. And we know that you will keep us updated so we could update your school community, parents in particular, on when next you will resume classes here. Finally, Miss Leo, that river behind your school, it's in your backyard. A bit of a concern for a while now. There's need for some discussion, some planning. I know you have some plans at Dame Paulette as well that you think can resolve the issue that you face almost annually with that river.
Yes, for years, from the time we started, I've had a few suggestions. And even before we had Thomas destruction in 2010, I knew because I've lived in this region for almost 27 years, and I knew what to expect when we had flooding. And I was always worried that Dame Paulette, with its present location, would be at risk. And it happened in 2010, it happened in 2012. We even had some mild flooding in 2015, but it didn't reach the school compound. It only covered the outer grounds of the school. And look, we had the rainfall, normal rainfall, and look at what happened again. So we don't just have one river at the back. We also have another one passing, some big drain passing at the front. So we have two sides, and they just converge into the school. So we need to put some sort of barrier, even if it doesn't stop it, but it at least will reduce the amount of water that will enter the school's compound. So we have to sit with the technocrats, we have to sit with the engineers, and see what we can do, because we cannot keep facing that kind of loss that we do every time there is some flooding or some threat of a storm or some kind of system somewhere around. So we need to do something because Dame Paulette cannot keep losing so much every time.
Yeah, especially the important learning hours that are now being missed by your students. Miss Leos, thanks for coming on. Thank you again to all of your team, yourself, for doing the amazing work to get the school back in a conducive environment for students and teachers to return as soon as. You'll keep us posted.
And thank you very much for reaching out. And again, thanks to everyone. I think the tenacity to continue and the tenacity to be optimistic comes from the teamwork I get and the support I get from parents, teachers, students, everyone, and even people like you who reach out. I mean, I got calls from so many people just saying that they are in it with us. And to everyone, if I miss anyone, thank you immensely for your support. To our school, the Dame Paulette Louise Primary School, no matter what, according to Maya Angelou, still will rise.
Principal of the Dame Paulette Louise Primary School, Ms. Evelyn Leo, on board with us this morning on the program. Good morning, St. Lucia. Providing a very important update. We saw the images of the institution following Sunday's trough system, impacted heavily by the severe rainfall. Pounds of mud was also dumped on the school's compound. Everything at the institution, according to the principal, was covered in mud. They've done a lot, and we say thank you to all the volunteers, students, past and present, parents of students past and present as well. Kudos to the Taiwanese ambassador and all other corporate partners who have reached out to provide support to the learning institution. They will be back on their feet very, very, very soon. The Dame Paulette Louise Primary School. We await further updates from the Ministry of Education, and we will continue our efforts to reach out to the Corinth Secondary School, whose doors also had to remain shut following Sunday's weather system. Lots happening. My next guest from Dominica is already standing by, but let's bring our focus back home for about 20 minutes or so and focus on the issue which has dominated our news headlines, and it has dominated our discourse for the last week or so. We know of that police incident involving the 11-year-old, the police rape, the police sexual assault of the 11-year-old girl. He has since been charged and is awaiting his course of justice at the Bodley Correctional Facility. Unfamiliar territory for him, but he needs to get used to it for the nature of the crime which he is charged for. As we also told you, there's new details as well coming to the fore this morning as it relates to the matter that we reported first on yesterday, the assault on a 4-year-old girl from the Dennery Valley area. More details are coming to the fore this morning. The perpetrator, aged between the ages of 25 and 27 years. He was the next door neighbor of the young girl in the Dennery Valley, the community of Dennery Riviere, to be precise. He was being housed at the Mico police station yesterday. We can confirm that the perpetrator has since been transferred to Viewfort Police, who are leading this investigation at this time. We can also confirm that on Sunday, the 6th of November, while so many were in distress with the heavy rain, this man was found performing oral sex on this 4-year-old girl. Police are investigating. We'll have more details as they unfold, but many citizens are growing angry with these continuous reports. Since our coverage started on Monday, a lot of people have reached out to us, many of whom want to share their stories. We had on our schedule a 32-year-old lady who 20 years ago, she was aged 12 then, was similarly sexually violated, and she was on board, but the recent reports of what happened to the 11-year-old and now the 4-year-old, these reports have triggered some sort of emotion within her, naturally so, that she keeps reminiscing what she encountered some 20 years ago. We've had to sort of put a hold on our scheduled interview for now. But many other women within our society share similar stories as well, one of whom reached out to us, and she's the mother of a young girl who was raped. This mother as well also has spent time behind bars for manslaughter. I've concealed her voice, and today we'll call her Jane Doe. A very interesting story. Perhaps we could learn something about or from her situation. She's still in search for some sort of help for her daughter, who has still not fully recovered from this crime, and she's in search for some counseling support. So Don, we can go straight to that feature right now. We'll hear from Jane Doe, the mother of a rape victim. This mother as well has spent time behind bars for manslaughter.
I've been through it, also my 2 daughters, and it's always a close family or friend. Yes, I know how it is. So, like when I told my mother what happened to me, she didn't want to believe me. You understand? I still live with it, yeah. I ended up doing drugs. I went to prison for taking somebody's life because I've been hurt by men already. And my daughter was only 9 years old when her cousin interfered with her. And I didn't raise her, it's my sister that raised her. And all the time I come in to see asking her if anybody touch her where that's not cool or where they're not supposed to touch. And all the while talking to her, they always have either my sister is there or her son is there. Like she was afraid to tell me what's going on. And when she came to live at our home, that's when she told me that he was interfering with her at the age of 9. So I know that feeling. Right now she has 5 children and she's so aggressive. When I tell you she's so aggressive, you cannot tell her nothing and she's taking you on. You understand? Yeah. And she really needs the help. She needs the help, trust me. I cannot help her. I cannot help her. I'm seeking for help for her to see a counselor talk about what's affecting her. Because I've been through that same thing and I've always told her, if she ever go through that, speak up. And she has 3 daughters. I tell her to talk to her children. And the guy that did that to her, you know, he's still living with us. When that happened, you know, the mother sent her son away. And now he's back living in the house. She has a 11-year-old daughter, a 2-year and a 9-month-old daughter. So I am seeking for help for her because I really need her to talk to somebody and let them know how she feels, because she doesn't open up to me. I never open up to nobody. My mother alone I open up to. And it's after I called prison, I saw counsel, I talked to them, I told them everything that affected me. I also lost my son in the process, motorbike accident. All that did affect me because he was my only son. But my other daughter deal with it different. But that one, she really need the help. I am, because I have to stay strong, especially for the grands. Yes. But I really need to seek help for that child of mine. Yeah. Well, you as well have a blessed day. I do listen to your program every morning, but that one got me, so I have to speak up.
Our coverage of the recent spate of rape cases here on St. Lucia involving young girls in particular, but our situation that also affects young boys has touched the nerve of this parent of a young girl who was 9 when she was sexually violated, according to the parent, by a cousin. Interestingly, years after, according to the information from the mother, the cousin who violated the young girl. Let's put the WhatsApp number on screen down right now. The cousin who violated the young girl still resides with them. Shocking. Our phone lines are open. You can come in on this particular issue. The mother is in search of help, counseling support, and other forms of assistance for this girl, this woman who now has 5 children. You can only imagine after suffering what she did at age 9, she now has produced 5 children, 3 of which are daughters, young girls. So we have a number of counselors within our domain here at Good Morning St. Lucia, so we will pass on the information to our counselors and have them to reach out to this particular story. So it's interesting that we could share this perspective from this parent who reached out to us, because you can see the ripple effect that these incidents have. The parent herself saying that she has suffered similar, and because of which she has unfortunately served time behind bars for manslaughter, killing a man, because she confesses she has been through a lot with male figures. So she has killed a man and she has done time in prison. She's now out after serving her time, but still having to deal with this traumatizing situation, not just on her, but more importantly so on her daughter. The perpetrator is back in the comfort of their homes, family member. We continue our discussion on this particular issue tomorrow on the program. We'll have a representative from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. We'll also have a representative from Human Services as well. So you want to come in and join us pretty early. We'll be discussing everything related to violence against the young people and violence involving young people as well. That's on tomorrow's program. Thursday is going to be a good one. My next guest in Dominica is already standing by, but before we go there, let's wrap up again. Don, put the graphic on for me, that letter which was sent out by the school principal. Once you have it, the letter which was sent out by the school principal, we featured it in our news package, one of our headline stories this morning. You have it done? Excellent. A letter sent out to school, parents of students at a grade 6 students at a primary school in Castries. And these parents have been put on notice that effective immediately the school will be implementing suspension. Why? Because grade 6 students of this particular school located in Castries continue to not complete work assignments for home, commonly referred to as homework. So the school has a big problem. The grade 6 students are preparing for exams. They're not completing homework. So the school has written to the parents. They've had parent conferences. There's continuous warnings. There have also been detentions. Parents have been brought in and spoken to about this problem, but it continues to reoccur. As a result, the school is adopting a zero tolerance for students not completing their homework or home assignments, and they've put parents on notice. Effective immediately, the school will be implementing suspension. It's a very serious matter. So parents, be forewarned. Homework is traditionally, and in a discussion with our news editor last evening, Sherry and Gillard Williams, just keep it on there for a minute for me. We concluded that it's a real departure from the norm, a school not having to write to parents in this manner, because homework is traditionally a must-do. You went to school, they gave you homework, they gave you assignments that you have to complete at home. It's a must-do. There's no two ways around it, right, Donnie? Right, Kate? You get homework, you just do your homework, and that's the end of the story. You turn it in the following day or when it is due. There was no instance where teachers had to write to your parents to complain about people not doing homework. So if you're cheeky like Dan, I'm sure you'd have some girl in class do your homework for you, but you don't show up to school without homework. So it's a very serious matter. The parents in that of students at that Castries school, you have been forewarned. Suspensions will follow immediately. So please speak with your students and be so guided. I'm sure Sherry Ann, we're going to have a feature on this this evening when Daniela Edwin comes in for the first news of the evening, news at 6:45. Be sure to join us for that. Thanks so much, Don. Time is now 8 o'clock in St. Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. Stay with us. My next guest already standing by in the Commonwealth of Dominica. We'll also hear from that island's Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, who is getting ready to lead his Dominica Labour Party to the polls again on December the 6th. 2 years ahead of the constitutionally due deadline. Stay with us. More right after this.
Ooh la la! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Get your clothes sparkling clean with whiter whites and brighter colors. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. Ultra concentrated formula gives more washes with brightening factors added to keep your clothes looking new. And with the added organic fabric softener, your clothes will be soft and fluffy. Joby antibacterial washing powder is also effective in stain removal for cleaner, brighter, softer clothes with the sweet scent of early spring morning. Use Joby antibacterial washing powder. My family, my love, my Joby. Available at supermarkets island-wide. For orders, call 455-3076.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his steel accidents along the Bexar Highway leaves Tremendous Chasney welcomes the scrutiny of its CI. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Yo, Wagwan Massive, this is your boy, Moto there, and it's all about Good Morning St. Lucia, vibes at sunrise, with Shannon Lebourne, yeah man, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m, the thing is always lit on Hot 7 TV, you don't know, Moto endorsing the vibe, you don't know, what she like, she like the chicken on the rice, chicken and rice.
Welcome back. We're going up until 9 o'clock, at which time we will conclude the broadcast here for today, Wednesday. You notice how Moto says that Wagwan Massive. just with such high energy. Compliments our vibe here on the platform. Good morning to all of our viewers in the diaspora, particularly our friends in the United States of America. Many of you voted yesterday, on that Democratic ticket. We'll give you an update before we leave at 9 on the results. Still coming in. We're following the polls with Reuters this morning. Say hi to our friends in the Commonwealth of Dominica as well. A large following over there. Good morning to our friends in Goodwill, Dominica, our viewers in Goodwill, Dominica. Hi to everybody who's watching in Tarish Pit, Purpose City. Jolly Lane, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to us here in St. Lucia. We sending vibes and sunrise your way. Warmth and all of that on this Wednesday morning, Dominica. Thank you so much for tuning in. Interesting turn of events in your neck of the woods when you think everything was nice and smooth post the World Creole Music Festival. Back to the polls come the 6th of December. The Prime Minister of that country, the Honorable Roosevelt Scarrett, he and his Dominica Labour Party, they were in the heart of Roseau last evening at the stadium grounds for his presentation of candidates under the theme Still the Best for Dominica. 10 new faces form part of that slate of candidates. 10 former MPs will no longer contest elections. According to the Prime Minister, they taking the decision to make a departure from active politics. Let's hear from the man himself in his own words, and then I move across to Roseau, where our Dominican journalist is already standing by. But now we hear from Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett on his way to the polls again come December the 6th.
As a consequence of their inability to rally together as one organization and support a single individual as leader of their party. They were rumbling chaotically along to a November 27th party conference at which no less than 6 persons had declared an intention to run for leadership. The conference on November 27 was not going to unite them. It was going to further divide them. Everyone they had approached to join the party as a candidate was joining on condition of becoming the leader of the party. And so, my friends, the decision not to contest was not taken after no vote on electoral reform. Let me give you the real background to their pullout from contesting the elections. I called a meeting last evening of the 10 new candidates who will be joining Labour in this election. And so, the 10 new candidates, we met last night with some of the outgoing members of the parliament and with our senior advisors. We met at a public space. We met the 10 new candidates in a public space. Someone took note of all who entered that building and all who left that building. And then they relayed that to the Workers' Party. And when they saw the names of people who were going to run, they decided, no way, we cannot beat those candidates, and therefore we're not going to contest elections. That is why they're not running. They know they could not win a single seat in enough of Dominica. They know they cannot test us in the south of Dominica. They know they cannot test us in the west of Dominica. And when they believed they had a little glimmer of hope in the East, when that woman who wanted to be leader of the Workers' Party from Lapland saw the name that is going to run in the Lapland constituency, she said, well, I feel bad. I cannot win that seat because that candidate for the Lapland constituency will be a formidable and is a formidable candidate for Labour in this election. So my friends, don't buy that nonsense about electoral reform. Don't buy that. That is a bunch of nonsense they're talking about. They're not ready. You have no leader. You have no policies. You have no programs. You have no friends. And you can't make even a little drink in a bar when you go in a constituency. Which job party are you talking about? Which party are you talking about? Labour is the only organized party in the Commonwealth. We are the only organized party in the Commonwealth, my dear friends. Workers' Party came, or they lost by 8,000 or so votes last election. But if they were hard-working men and women, if they were interested in people, they could do better this time around. But they're not serious. And so Lennox Clinton led them for the last 3 years. 3 years, and then got vexed and left the cockpit when he heard of the sort of people that were being recruited to replace him. That is why he said they backstab him, they crooked him, ladies and gentlemen. With who gets up and leaves the leadership of a political party 3 years after an election? Who does that? Who does that? And so, ladies and gentlemen, this election is a serious time. We have, as Labour Party, to secure the future of this country, the well-being of Dominica. And so, let us not get confused by them. We have work to do, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we caught them with their pants and underwear down. We caught them with their pants and underwear down, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, it was not only down, it was completely off. And they cannot recover from this. The UWP tonight is as naked as it was born. No policy, no philosophy, no ideas, no presence on the ground, no money to buy even a drink in a shop for anybody who they meet in a shop. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let us remain focused on Dominica and what we need to do for our country. So tell the Workers' Party for me tonight to stop their damn nonsense about they're not running because of a report on electoral reform. That is not true. They marched up and down for the last 3 months demanding election. Every Wednesday they rose up, Scarrett call election, Scarrett call it. When Scarrett call the election, they're saying they're not running for election. Well, if you are not ready, then don't come and talk to me about your problems. That is your problem, Workers' Party. That's your problem. That's your problem. We are ready, and we are ready to continue the advancement of Dominica for the benefit of the people of Dominica. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if they don't want to contest, then so be it. I have led a party in parliament with 18 seats, and I am prepared to run a parliament with all 21 seats. So it's okay. Nobody will miss them anyway. It's a bunch of lazy men and women looking for a salary every month, no work. So if they want to run, okay. But we will take all the 21 seats, all of them. So my friends, and I am warning them tonight. I am warning them tonight that nonsense they did last election and blocking streets and burning streets. Let me say to them that we will not sit down and take that nonsense again in Dominica. That nonsense will not happen in our country. This lawless behavior.
A very energized Prime Minister, Honorable Ruth Skerrit, speaking last evening during his presentation of candidates. We'll talk about some of the new faces in just a bit, but sending a clear warning to his rival opposition United Workers' Party that the government of the day, the government of Dominica, will not tolerate the sort of anarchy and chaos which we saw on the streets of Roseau in 2019 ahead of the polls there. Joining me now via the Flow video platform, Dominican journalist who has a keen interest and who is observing what's happening on the ground in Dominica, Mr. Loftus Durant. Loftus, good morning. Thanks for waking up and thanks for agreeing to come on.
Well, good morning, Mr. Lebourne, and to your many viewers and listeners.
Yes, nice to have you on. Let's start off. Lots of political rhetoric. Obviously, those in attendance last evening were supporters of the Prime Minister. What's the true energy and feeling on the ground in Roseau and across the Commonwealth now? What are people saying on the heels of the snap election?
Well, just before I go to what the mood of the people is on the ground is in Dominica as we speak, really snap election called by Roosevelt Skerrit. I want to be straight up with you and your viewers and listeners and tell you that from how I see it and many persons see it in Dominica, that the man, Roosevelt Skerrit, is a very politically dishonest and deceptive man. That is why I want to start my comments here with you.
Excellent. Why dishonest first?
Dishonesty because there are many situations that Roosevelt Skerrit was caught, as it were, with his hand in the cookie jar. We know that in Dominica, and a number of persons in the region know certain situations. One situation, for example, many years ago, his government was basically caught red-handed, whereby that scandal was named the bean bubble scandal, whereby certain factions of his government had to pay back money to the treasury, basically deceiving the Dominicans of monies in some kind of scandal as known as the bean bubble scandal, rubbish bin scandal in Dominica. And the list can go on and on, but in the interest of time, I just want to start with this one. So it's on that premise that I said he is politically dishonest and as well a very deceptive brother politically.
Okay, how comes he continues to hold the reins of power? He continues to be re-elected, even as you say, being caught with his hands in the cookie jar on several occasions.
Well, when it is alleged that you are, as a man or as an individual, dabbling in certain things that are not that are not good, especially in the spiritual realm. And also you are known to be bribing and treating individuals before, during, and even after general elections, then that will lend itself in a very wholesome way to you remaining in power.
He's called snap elections 2 years ahead of the constitutionally due deadline. What's the mood like, the real and honest mood on the ground amongst your citizens?
Basically, you have two factions in Dominica. Dominica is basically split between red and blue. And red and blue meaning the political parties in Dominica. The Dominican Labour Party, which Roosevelt Skerrit is the leader of, and also the United Workers' Party, which is now going through a transition in terms of its leadership. If you talk to any one person in Dominica based on their political leanings, then you will get a different response. What I can tell you is that those who are in support of the Dominican Labour Party, they will tell you that things are good, things are okay, and the government of the day, they have done and continue to do an excellent job. On the contrary, if you talk to someone else who is not in support or is not in the corner of the incumbent government, then you will be hearing a totally different picture in terms of the doom and gloom situation as it pertains to the economy, as it pertains to healthcare, as it pertains to agriculture, and the list will go on and on. You'll be getting a totally different picture of the handling where the mismanagement of Dominica is concerned.
Yeah. But do you get a sense that many of your citizens are surprised and shocked even that elections have been called so early again?
Well, lots of persons, even those who are in support of the incumbent, they too, they are surprised at a man in the name of Roosevelt Skerrit calling an election 2.5 years into his political mandated cycle. A lot of persons are wondering exactly why that happened. If you have the majority in government as he has, 18 seats to the Dominican Labour Party to 3 seats to the United Workers' Party. One is asking the question exactly why. He gave reasons which really doesn't add up, citing COVID and the country needs to be on a reset mode. But basically, if you're resetting to something to better. No one resets anything for the worse or even the same. And what we have witnessed in the past, just before the 2019 general election, the team or half of the team that he dashed aside, especially the senior ministers, he said to the Dominican public back then that that was the best team, the best thing as it were, after sliced bread. And this time again, he also dashed another 10 and basically saying the same rhetoric that this team now in 2022, it is the better team for Dominica. And we have to ask ourselves exactly why this brother keeps fooling the Dominican public time and times over.
Yeah, he's even gone further this time around last evening, saying that this new team is the best team that you would find anywhere in the world. Those were his exact remarks. What do you think? What do you think is his real agenda? Because you're not buying the reasons that he's coughing up.
Well, the best team in the world, then Roosevelt Skerrit is living in a mind of his own. This guy is living in a bubble. He's far from reality. He's far from the realistic situations on the ground. You have a situation in Dominica, for example, take healthcare in Dominica. Gone are the days when Dominica was one of the countries in the Caribbean region, for example, where other residents would fly to Dominica for healthcare services. Gone are those days. Basic things in our hospital, now you cannot get in terms of medication. Basic surgeries to be performed on individuals who find themselves in these situations where their health is concerned, they have to be flown out. And so the management of the country, especially where healthcare is concerned, is much to be desired. In the area of agriculture, agriculture is basically on its back in Dominica. Gone are the days when banana, as we know in Dominica, was king, and lots and loads of people was benefiting that resource. We are no longer, as a country, able to deal with our citizenry in terms of the whole hopefulness and inspiration as it pertains to young people. You have violence is on the increase. A lot of persons, they are leaving the country in droves, and that is as a result of the mismanagement, as I said, of his government that he's leading for the past 15, 16 years in Dominica. There's a state of disarray in the country, and I cannot paint it any better to you and your listeners as to exactly the state of which we are in Dominica. And added to that, a snap election has been called, and he gives all sorts of other reasons why he went into that snap election mode, but not giving the people the real and true situation on the ground that the Dominican public have been facing in terms of his dismal performance.
Yeah, thanks for painting that picture for us, because I know your Prime Minister would say, look at the new hospital that I just built, look at the CIP receipts, but thanks for painting that picture. You're on the ground in Roseau. What is your prediction going into the December 6 polls? Do you expect people to turn out in large numbers to vote? Do you expect people to take to the streets to protest? Because the opposition have said that they're not going to be part of this election.
Well, a matter of fact, Roosevelt Skerritt made the announcement last Sunday. And up till now, I'm still waiting to hear the buzz whenever an election is called in any part of the world. There is no buzz. There's nothing exciting happening on the ground in Dominica. A matter of fact, he made the announcement Sunday night, and Monday morning it was like business as usual. People are basically just going about their daily business as if nothing happened. This time around, I can tell you, our elections have been very low in terms of its attendance and participation. And this year, with the official opposition parties not participating, they made that position clear. Then it will be even be lower, and maybe it will be within the range of 20% voter turnout, 25%, 30% voter turnout. But that is the stark reality on the ground. We have been clamoring, we have been fighting in Dominica for, figuratively speaking, that is, for a freer and fairer framework for this electoral process that we are deemed to go into on December 6th.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister have not facilitated the process. We have an electoral commission in Dominica that tried and keep trying at least to do something, but he keeps standing in the way in terms of making those things a reality. We also had in 2019, before the sham general election, where it was rigged, the OAS, the CARICOM, and the Commonwealth Secretariat, Roosevelt Skerritt, invited them to Dominica to help us in terms of making that process free and fairer. Even before these people, these august organizations came in with their report and tabled it, he came out swinging through the mouth of the Attorney General and said to the Dominican people, one, that these recommendations by these bodies, they were too expensive. Two, they would cause much confusion. And the third being that it doesn't come to mind now. But basically, he gave three solid reasons that these recommendations could not take place.
Okay.
Here on the hills again, brother, Dennis Byron. I guess you heard of Dennis Byron.
Absolutely.
He, Roosevelt Skerritt again, through this one-manism in Dominica, contracted Dennis Byron, and on the heels of a draft report, he called a snap election. So it is just like a slap in the face of everybody every time as it pertains to free and fair elections.
Yeah, I was going to go there with the Dennis Byron report, which he has laid out a schedule for starting to present it by the first phase in November. And I wanted to ask you whether or not you think your Prime Minister is a bit fearful of the recommendations of Sir Byron. We'll go there in just a bit. But you don't anticipate people to protest heading into the December 6th general election?
Excuse me, I didn't get that question.
You don't anticipate people to protest heading into the general election?
Well, what I know, in any functioning democracy, the people have the power. And where a people's back is pressed for so long that the people have the right to resist in terms of protest action. And so, yes, I have been hearing that persons will resist, persons will exercise the democratic right by saying that what the process that we have been engaged in or asked to be engaged in again is just a sham.
Right.
And they will have none of it, and they will continue to stand for their rights as it pertains to at least giving them the chance to partake in something that is meaningful to them in terms of casting the ballot.
Right. Do you expect him this time around to invite the international observers and with the opposition non-participation, with again an election, no electoral reform? What do you think will the observers say to what's happening now in Dominica?
Well, I don't know if he will invite the observers, but to me it makes very little sense or no sense at all to invite any observer mission team to Dominica, because these observer missions have been here ever so often, and they keep producing reports that speak to the falsities, the unfairness, the dishonesty, the lack of transparency, and everything that goes into our elections. And they keep making recommendations ever so often, and none of these recommendations, absolutely none, not one of these recommendations have been adopted by the Electoral Commission first, and also facilitated by the incumbent, which Roosevelt Skerrit leads. So to me, it's like basically going to the well ever so often with a bucket with holes in the bottom, and expecting every time to bring back home some water.
Yeah.
That is an exercise in futility, if you ask me.
One of the recommendations coming from the observer missions every time is for Dominica to seriously pursue electoral reform, especially along the lines of voter registration. How big is that an issue on the minds of Dominicans? Because we understand now, and even before, you could just show up on the election day and say, I am Loftus Durant, and you can vote under that name. Is that the case?
Well, the situation for free and fair elections in Dominica in terms of reformation of this process, it has passed due. Unlike your guest before, Peter Wicham, the pollster, I listened to him basically trying to downplay that situation in Dominica, where elections after elections have been rigged because we in Dominica don't have a free and fair process. You in St. Lucia, Mr. Lebourne, the people in St. Kitts and Nevis, the people in Antigua, the persons in St. Vincent, though you guys may not have it 100%, but there is something that you guys can hold on to safeguard your democracy. In Dominica, we have nil, we have nothing. And when I heard Peter Wicham came to you this morning and want to give you the impression and the world impression that UK, for example, doesn't have an ID card. Certain parts in America in terms of the voting system doesn't have an ID card. This is being very intellectually dishonest, because Peter Wicham knows the situation on the ground in Dominica, that persons have impersonated persons when they vote with their finger in that ink. Then all they do normally sometimes is go home and rub off that ink. They put oil on their finger so that the ink doesn't really stay. So there are a lot of shenanigans that goes on in Dominica as it pertains to a free and fair process. And the Dominican public will continue to clamor for that day when at least we can join our brothers and sisters in this region to have a semblance of free and fair electoral system in Dominica.
So Dennis Byron was working on a system of electoral reform. He was commissioned by your Prime Minister. paid through the office of the Prime Minister by taxpayers' dollars to do this job. He wrote to Lennox Linton on Sunday, the 6th of November, the very same day the Prime Minister called the election. Your Prime Minister would have received the letter before the 6th. Our sources say he would have received the letter around the 1st of November, thereabout. Are you suspicious that based on what and the direction Sir Byron was heading, he wanted to table the first part of the report in November, have Parliament see it and table it in December? Are you concerned that based on the direction Sir Byron was headed, your Prime Minister was not in support of the reform process and decided to preempt the report by Sir Dennis Byron?
Again, I will go back to my opening statements in response to your question, sorry. Roosevelt Skerrit, the man, and mark my words, I'm not calling him a leader because true leaders don't behave in that form and fashion. Roosevelt Skerrit is a very dishonest, politically speaking, and a very deceptive brother. Here it is, with the latest scenario of bringing about Sir Dennis Byron, which was a former president of the CCG, in terms of the legal aspect of things in our region. He single-handedly singled out Dennis Byron to make recommendations as to a way forward for our electoral process in Dominica. Here it is, on the heels of this brother providing a draft of his recommendation, this political, dishonest and deceptive man will basically abort that process that Dennis Byron has been engaging with him for 2 years plus and basically call a snap election. So we are asking in Dominica, is it a slap in the face of, again, another attempt at someone in the name of Dennis Byron to help us in Dominica like he did on previous occasions? We're asking that all-important question. So when we see these things being displayed in Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit can only be classified for who he is, and that is, I will repeat, he's a very politically dishonest and deceptive man, and the people in the region, in terms of leaders in the region and even across the world, they have to watch and take Roosevelt Skerrit for who he is. And he's not supposed to be trusted at any cost at all.
We heard from him a short while ago, very, very energized last evening in Roseau. I'll play some excerpts from your Prime Minister again before we end. Talk to us about his new suite of candidates, the best team, according to him, anywhere in the world for the times. Who's new on the ballot paper this time around, and what did they bring to the table based on your opinion?
In 2019, it was the best thing out of space as well. In 2022, just 2.5 years into his mandate, his fraudulent mandate, I must add, again, he's coming with that same old political rhetoric. It is the best thing. Basically, what I saw in terms of the changes, it is nothing but, as the saying goes, old wine in a new bottle. What I can say is that most of these people are much more youthful, and Dominicans would by nature suggest that because of their youthfulness, there will be a new energy. But Roosevelt keeps getting away ever so often with basically thrashing persons on the side after they serve the country. And Mr. Lebourne, I'm going to make a pronouncement there to you this morning. And maybe you will get back to me in the not too distant future to let me expound on what I'm saying when it truly materializes. Roosevelt Skerrit, in terms of his attitude and his posture towards just shuffling up people in that deck of cards, as it were, where his candidate is concerned, and he seems not to be shuffling himself or be prepared to shuffle himself and his wife. We are looking at a situation in Dominica where, like Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe then, he and his wife basically control Zimbabwe. We are looking at a situation where if the Dominican public don't take stock of what is happening and do something about that situation, you guys as journalists may be reporting that we have a Mugabe-like situation in Dominica where Roosevelt Skerrit and his wife Melissa is concerned. And finally, I will tell you, the people will resist that, and it will not be a very pleasant day for Dominica. It will not. It will not.
Finally, from me to you, Mr. Durant, and we'll keep monitoring once these developments unfold. We'll report on them and contact you as you initiated. Finally, from me, Mr. Durant, your Prime Minister was here on St. Lucia recently, within the last month. He's a close ally to our ruling St. Lucia Labour Party, and he addressed the recent party congress under the theme Protecting the Victory. Based on the shenanigans, according to you, and the dealings of your Prime Minister, how worried should St. Lucians, if at all, be of his association with our ruling St. Lucia Labour Party here?
Well, Mr. Lebourne, what I'm seeing in the region unfolding is that the Labour parties in our region, they have been consolidating their forces. And though on one side of the spectrum that may be good for their organizations, on the other side of the spectrum that is certainly not good, in that we are seeing unfolding before our very eyes a sort of very deceptive move by the Labour parties in the region, whereby they tend to, as Roosevelt Skerrit did, Mia Motley did it earlier, and we will see that show up its head if we don't take stock, that these quote-unquote snap election situations cannot augur well for democracies. If I should just use some of the words of Dr. Hines, Christiana Hines, that's a political scientist in Barbados, when Mia Motley called that snap election. Basically, I'm not quoting her now, but she said these situations where politicians have dates running in their back pocket and can use it to their whims and fancies to stay in power, it cannot augur well for thriving democracies in our region. And I hope to see the day that when we as one people in the region can hold politicians accountable and let democracy and democratic principles reign, because we cannot continue as that. It cannot be that sort of plantation style of governance that we once knew that is showing up its ugly head again. The winner takes all, and the majority.
The losers cry for 5 years. Loftus will talk again. I say, and the losers will cry again for 5 years.
Well, that is the idea. Yeah. That is the new phenomenon in the region. And so I pray to God that one day, someday, pretty soon, that we as a people will wake up in the region and see what is happening and be prepared to do something about it.
Yeah, there's obviously a trend. The Dominica Labour Party, the lost Mia Motley's Barbados Labour Party in Jamaica, Andrew Holness's Jamaica Labour Party, they all went that route of quick and snap elections. And the date, December the 6th, December the 6th is not a date just out the envelope. That date is synonymous with elections in our region. So a few interesting factors to look into.
Well, I'm glad you're taking note, Mr. Lebourne. You're a wise brother.
Loftus, thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming on this morning. We'll come back to you again. Loftus Durant, a journalist over in the Commonwealth of Dominica, coming on this morning to discuss the recent political developments over in the Nature Isle. Dan, we still have that video from Prime Minister Skerrit from last evening. Let's continue with some of it now, and then we will come back to share some feedback on the WhatsApp platform. A lot of discussion on what's happening in Dominica. You can also call us in 5840600, 5840600, our WhatsApp line. Let's continue to hear from Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, who continues to declare that Dominica is Skerrit country. Thank you.
As a consequence of their inability to rally together as one organization and support a single individual as leader of their party. They were rumbling.
We wanted to continue with Prime Minister Skerritt's around 3 hours, 3 minutes and 55 seconds thereabout, or a bit lower down. That's the time code. Let's review some feedback now on the Facebook platform. Somebody's asking, Shannon, can you request for Sir Dennis Byron to come on? You're thinking just like us. We have a copy of his letter to Mr. Linton. My co-producer, I know you identified like me that Mr. Byron's number is listed on the letterhead of that letter to Mr. Linton, and it's my interest to get him on as well. You'd have an interesting perspective to share. So thanks for that. Let me say hello to Fenella Wenham. Fenella Wenham is... Oh, no. Those are the new candidates, I think. Yeah. I will go through them in just a bit. I have the video of your Prime Minister as well. Given that announcement of his new candidates last evening, we'll go through it. But the writer is saying, same old issues. They have lost in court many times. Just keep repeating, no evidence. That's issues being brought on there by the opposition in Dominica, she's saying. Somebody's saying, ouch. Mr. Durant is not going to like this. I know he's still watching, but somebody's saying, Mr. Durant is a politician and not a journalist. He's a Dominican national for sure, with a special interest in development of his community. Continue to call us. Continue to call us up as well. 5840600. Send us your messages. 4500 is our landline number as well. 4500 or the WhatsApp number, the Flow WhatsApp 5840600. So Dan, we're looking at just before he goes into the announcement of his candidates. He's talking about them being the best team anywhere around the world, and then we'll take it from there and conclude today's program. Morning to Izai. Big shout out. Yeah, Izai is showing some support. He says, I had a frustration of the school leadership regarding homework, but this issue needs to be considered. Is the child able to do the work? Is there any support or supervision at home? Is the home environment conducive for doing homework? Additional remedies. Get these students enrolled in the Lotto funded after school program, which provides homework assistance. Good suggestion, Izai. And arrange for past students or parents to come to assist with such an initiative organized by the PTA. And get your community centers active and make homework assistance part of the operations. I had a cry, but also know of other solutions. Izai, of course, is in the teaching service for some 35 years, and he has taught at primary and tertiary levels. Thanks for those excellent suggestions, Izai, because when I saw the missive from the school principal, my initial concern was they're not doing homework. Yes, we want them to do the homework, but when you suspend them, Izai, they're not doing any work, homework, schoolwork. They're just going to be at home. So that's not the model that I think we want to follow. I know that the principal and her teachers, they're frustrated. They want the grade 6 to do their work, but there are other solutions, as you rightly listed, Izai. Thanks so much for those. Again, a contributor on the WhatsApp platform. I did go through your comment in its entirety. Same old issues. They have lost in court many times, yet they keep repeating. And you also sent me the list of new candidates. Dan, you ready again? ready again. Let's hear from Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit one more time as we begin to wrap up. He has a new suite of candidates, according to him. The suite of candidates even better than the suite of candidates presented here in St. Lucia and anywhere around the world.
And I am prepared to run a parliament with all 21 seats. So, it's okay. Nobody will miss them anyway. It's a bunch of lazy men and women looking for a salary every month, no work. So, if they want to run, okay. But we will take all the 21 seats, all of them. So my friends, and I am warning them tonight, that nonsense they did last election on blocking streets and burning streets, let me say to them that we will not sit down and take that nonsense again in Dominica. That nonsense will not happen in our country. This lawless behavior, the government will not accept it from these people. You fight elections with policies, programs, and ideas, not blocking streets and burning streets in Dominica. So it's not going to happen again. And if it happens, we'll deal with it according to the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And so, my friends, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to reveal the Dominica Labour Party team for the times. Already, you met 10 of the returning PAL reps. I wish to commend them on their decision to offer themselves once again. I want to thank them for offering themselves once again. And we've also recognized that there are some of our comrades who have decided to retire from active politics. I thank them most profusely, but I will get the opportunity when I visit each of those constituencies to thank the comrades who are retiring from active politics for their service to this country, diligently working in the vineyard of labor, in the vineyard of this country for more than 2 decades. And I can say to you that they have done well for Dominica, and they have done well to this Dominica Labour Party. And so I thank them for this. But let me send a message to all of them that while they will not be PAL reps, I have a lot of work for them to do, because we need all hands on deck to do the work on behalf of the people of Dominica. And so don't believe you're going to slip under no tree in Cottage or no tree in Benjamin's Park. No, you're going to get work to do. Lady D, you have work to do. Kent, you have work to do. Dr. King, you have work to do. All of you have work to do in the service of the people of Dominica. But tonight, my dear friends, I am here to present to you the new candidates of the Dominica Labour Party. The new candidates of the Dominica Labour Party. And you know, as you know, As you know, my dear friends, I have signaled to the country, that my time in politics, in other words, I have less time left in politics than I have served. And therefore, I am preparing the party for a peaceful, orderly, and disciplined transition. And I want to ensure that the party has sufficient skills and talent at its disposal to carry on the work that we have done over the last 2 decades. And so we need to bring new blood and new energy and new talent to the service of the party. And this is what we have sought to do with the 20 candidates that we have in these general elections. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I went to the east, I saw talent. I went to the south, I saw talent. I went to the north, I saw talent. I went to the west, I saw talent. And I even went into the center, ladies and gentlemen, and found talent there for the Labour Party in these elections. And so, my task is to lead this great party into yet another victory, and to be the guide and to oversee the peaceful transition of this country. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we set out, and I believe in a few minutes you will agree that we have created the perfect team for these times. There is no other place in the world where you'll get such a perfect team for the times, ladies and gentlemen. And so it is my pleasure to introduce the new candidates. But first I will introduce those who are returning to run in these general elections. And so I would like to re-invite the returning members of Team Labour to the platform. Dr. Vince Henderson, Shakira Lockhart Hippolyte, Gregory Riviere, Fidel Grant, Kozia Frederick, Denise Charles, if they don't move fast, we replace them, they have to move fast. Dr. Irvin McIntyre, Octavia Alfred, and Melissa Poponskerrit.
If they don't move fast, we'll replace them, You saw how quickly the remaining candidates got to the front of the stage. 10 returning MPs and 10 new candidates for the constituency of Portsmouth. Fenella Wenham will be the new face on the ballot box. For Collyho constituency, Darren Pinard. For the Sainsbury St. Joseph, Darren Lloyd. For Maho, Cassiani Laville. Roseau North, Miriam Blanchard will be on the ballot box. For Pebush Lakara Joseph, Petit Sepan Julian Defoe, and for the Cottage constituency, his father was a former candidate as well, Roland Royer. 10 new faces on the ballot box. Plus 10 returning MPs and the Prime Minister's carrot. It makes 21 candidates for the Dominica Labour Party. He currently controls 18 of the 21 seats, 3 to the United Workers' Party. They will not contest and if the Prime Minister has his way at the end of the day on December the 6th, he will control 21 seats in the Parliament of Dominica. Interesting times ahead. We will continue to reach out to Sir Dennis Byron as per your request, and we'll continue to monitor what's happening on the ground in Dominica. You think the same can happen here in 758 St. Lucia? You think the current Prime Minister and government have the capacity and the room to call a snap election? You think so? I think not. I think first you must deliver St. Jude before heading back to the polls. But interesting lessons for all of us in the Caribbean who follow politics. Interesting lessons for opposition parties as well. If you're not up, I'm sure you're up by now. Get up with us tomorrow at 6 o'clock. We go up until 9. Until then, and on behalf of my entire team, have yourself a wonderful Wednesday.